Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kino from STEMwithKino.com, and today we are doing another video. This is our second video on attitude instrument flying. Now, there are two ways that we teach attitude instrument flying, and the first one we're going to talk about is the primary and support concept. The second one will be the control performance method. Let me just get to my notes and read any particular things that I want to touch on. Alright, so primary support and control performance. Now this video is going to help you develop the thought process for effective scanning. We did a T-scan before, and we talked about basically the three fundamental principles of attitude instrument flying. You can look at that video, and you should look at that video before you actually get to this one to help you gain a better understanding. But the video's here so you can stop it, rewind it, you can go back later and stuff like that. And I really encourage you guys to really check these videos out if you are going through your IFR flight training. So the primary support is one of the two accepted methods for teaching attitude instrument flying. And like I said, the control and performance concept is the second one. These two methods of scanning, they use the same instruments generally, and they generally yield the same control responses, but they differ in the degree of reliance on the attitude indicator, which is this guy right here. That's our attitude indicator. So, we'll just jump in, because when you learn about each one of these methods, you'll just decide which one is best for you. Now, again, the primary and support concept is dividing. It's basically a concept that divides instruments into three types of instruments. It's either going to be a pitch instrument, a bank instrument, or power instrument. But there's a primary instrument that's kind of going to be the main thing that we focus on, and then we'll have backup instruments that we can look at to confirm what we see on the main one. So for a given maneuver, there's a specific instrument we should be focusing on, used to control the airplane and obtain the desired performance. The instruments that provide the most essential information are called our primary, and the supporting instruments would be the backup ones for the primary. So, as you'll see along here, you're going to see me executing a maneuver, and then you're going to see which is the primary pitch, bank, and power instrument, and then we're going to see the supporting. So, our first maneuver that we're going to perform is straight and level flight. Now, as we look around, this is definitely a IFR day. If we look around the aircraft, the visibility is very low. The cloud deck is about 500 feet. Okay, so this is definitely not a VFR day. The tower can't even see the aircraft. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely not an IFR day. I'm going to pause for a second because I just want to check something out real quick. Okay, so we're back, and what we're going to do is I just wanted to set up the instrument landing system, because I guess we're going to come back here. We'll try to get ourselves back here. Alright. Strobe, technical recognition. That looks good, feels good, is good. Okay, so we are going to do an instrument departure. And as you can see, the visibility is about, I don't know, a half mile, I think. As we look around the aircraft, we know that the visibility is not good at all. And typically, these are the flight conditions that you're going to be flying in when you're conducting IFR operations. So it is very important that you understand how to scan these basic instruments and be able to maintain your situational awareness. And I have an image that I'm trying to, okay, there we go. Okay, so we should see that running along the bottom. All right, so straight and level flight is the first maneuver that we're going to conduct, executing the primary and support concept of attitude instrument flying. All right, so we'll go ahead, throw the throttle forward. Heading is 035 on this runway. Northeast. Airspeed is alive. Okay, now, we're pretty much going to be in the soup at about 500 feet. So if we look off at the wingtip there, and there's another airplane taking off. Wow. Okay, that's pretty neat. All right, but we're going to be in the soup at about 500 feet. All right, so we won't really see a whole heck of a lot going on our instruments, and we can kind of see the land. It's dimming on us, and we can't even see the runway anymore. Okay, so we are definitely in the soup at this time. Definitely in the soup, as we call it. We call it being in the soup because there's nothing for us to look at outside. And when I was actively flight instructing and teaching IFR, this was the weather I would love to get my students in, because this is the best. This is the best training you could receive, getting into hard, what I call hard IFR. Okay, we're going to go into our cruise profile, or cruise climb. (2,000 feet now, and climbing. Did not mean to do that. Okay. Now we're going to lever her out at 2,500. And we'll make small adjustments. We don't go nuts with our adjustments. Just nice and easy. Okay, we need to trim. And there's nothing to see outside, so there's no use to be even looking. We are definitely in the soup. Okay, so now we really have to aggressively kind of pitch forward. I say aggressively, but I just mean just put a little bit more oomph into it, because 2,500 is our target altitude. So put some pressure in there, release the pressure on the yoke, and we see that that vertical speed indicator keeps floating upward. So we're just going to apply the pressure and keep the trim coming. Okay, that was a little bit too much, but that's all right. So we want plus or minus about 100, plus or minus 100 feet, and I like to be plus or minus 5 degrees on the heading. Okay. And again, if you have a pretty decent simulator like this one, this will definitely sharpen your IFR skills. Because if you can maintain level flight in this thing, a real airplane is really not going to be that bad. So, you know, you can hone your skills without leaving the ground. So I am using my T-scan, 035 degrees and 2,500. So we're going to talk about our primary pitch, power, and bank instruments. So I'm maintaining straight and level flight. And my primary pitch instrument is the altimeter. So if I want to focus on 2,500 feet, this is my primary pitch. My primary bank instrument is my heading indicator, and my power is my airspeed indicator. So primary pitch, bank, and power. It's like a V. So some people would refer to that as a V scan. These are your primary instruments. Now, supporting pitch, your vertical speed indicator, your attitude indicator. So we're using different systems to confirm what we want to hold. Our 3035 and 2500. Now, we're going to execute a 180-degree turn. So we're going to establish a standard rate turn. And what you notice when we start doing this, our nose is going to want to drop on us. We're going to have to use some back pressure. Okay, looking good, looking good. All right. And when we roll out on our heading, we'll go back to notice like your altimeter wants to fall on us, and I am applying the back pressure because we want plus or minus 100 feet during this whole time this turn, which we're maintaining. Nice standard return. If you look at the turn coordinator, it's nice and stabilized, but it takes a little bit of doing to maintain this altitude in the simulator. We're going to roll out on the reciprocal heading of 035, and when we level out, we won't need as much back pressure. The horizontal component of lift is turning us, and we've increased our weight, and that's why we need the back pressure. Now, when we level out, we have to make a conscious effort to just gently apply some nose down pressure, because you can see our altimeter kind of floated up on us. All right, and it is continuing to kind of do so, but we're just putting in little control inputs there to get ourselves back down to 2,500. And remember that V scan. Our primary pitch, bank, and power instruments are our altimeter, our heading indicator, and our airspeed indicator. Right. Looking good there. We're still level at 2,500 feet. The vertical speed indicator is kind of moving a little bit, but not too crazily. And that will be our supporting instrument for pitch. Our supporting bank indicator will be our turn coordinator and our attitude indicator. So those are just supporting instruments. Again, primary, pitch, altimeter, bank, and airspeed. If anything is going to throw us off or anything like that, we will see it in these instruments. As far as pitch is concerned, bank is concerned. If we were turning, you would immediately see a turn in your heading indicator. And for power, for level flight, straight and level flight, we would immediately see a bleeding off if we were climbing, or an increase in airspeed if we were descending. So that's why we call these our primary instruments. All right. So we did execute a standard rate turn. And whenever we're level, if we're doing anything level, our primary pitch instrument is going to be our altimeter. When we're establishing the standard rate turn, it will be 10% of our airspeed. And you know what? I have yet to look at my airspeed and say, okay, 150, a 15-degree bank. I mean, that's how you kind of would establish it. I just kind of roll until this wingtip touches the left, and that will give us a standard rate turn. So I got to be honest with you, I never just kind of, oh look, 150 knots. 15 degrees of bank. I just pretty much roll into the turn. All right. So let's do a standard rate turn to the left. All right. So when we're establishing it, our primary pitch is going to be our altimeter. Our primary bank is going to be the attitude indicator, then the turn coordinator. So 150 knots, 15 degrees, and then once we get this swing there, we'll be good. And our primary power is our airspeed. So notice, straight level flight, primary pitch was the altimeter. Level condition, we're doing a level turn, still the primary pitch indicator. All right. As far as our bank, it was our heading indicator when we were straight level flight, but since we're establishing a turn, it's our attitude indicator, then the turn coordinator. Primary power is still the airspeed indicator. So note that that primary power has not changed for level flight. All right. As far as supporting instruments for pitch, our supporting when establishing standard rate turn is an attitude indicator and vertical speed indicator. Our bank will be our turn coordinator, and you could cross-check with your attitude indicator if you like. And then as far as power, it will be our tachometer. In this case, it will be our manifold pressure. If we didn't have constant speed props, it would be the tachometer. But since we do have it, so we're going to leave that at 24 inches of manifold pressure. Okay, so we're gonna execute a standard rate left turn, and we're going to roll out on that heading. So this will be a 2-minute turn. All right. Again, pitch bank power is our altimeter, attitude, then turn coordinator, and then airspeed. So this is establishing a standard rate turn. Here we go. Again, you're going to have to apply some back pressure because the nose is going to want to drop on you. So I'm going to go ahead and add some trim and as well as back pressure. So now we're in it. Our altimeter is still our primary pitch instrument. Our bank is our turn coordinator. We're keeping that wingtip on the index marker. And our manifold pressure is still at 24. That is our power instrument. We're maintaining 2,500. This is not the autopilot. It's all me. Scan, scan, scan. Bank. So pitch, bank, and power. Pitch, bank, and power. Now standard rate turn, rotating 360 degrees, should take us 2 minutes. Nice and easy. We're not jerking the yoke. We're just making very small control movements because we don't want to do anything to get our spatial disorientation going. We want to be very nice and easy on the controls. That's 270 degrees per turn almost. And we got about 30 more seconds to roll out. Slightly below our, actually we're right on now, and she's like trying to climb. Now when we roll out, remember we trimmed for this condition, so when we roll out, we're going to have to push forward just gently, just a little bit, because then all our vertical lift is going to come back. So you have to understand what's going on as we look at these instruments. Okay, here's our rollout. Okay, and we go back to straight and level flight. And our primary instruments, and there's the pop-up. So again, I got to push that forward. I got to push forward on the yoke. And again, we have no outside visual reference. We're just flying by reference to our instruments. Really nice. Okay, slightly off on my heading, and I am correcting. I'm going to put the image on my Facebook page. So if you guys need to see a chart for the primary and support instruments, I will have a copy. It's stemwithkino.com on Facebook or stemwithkino.com on Twitter. So, if you guys want to jump in your simulators and follow along, you can do that. Okay, so we established a standard rate turn. We identified our straight and level. So now back to our feed. Primary pitch is our altimeter, bank heading indicator, and power will be the airspeed indicator. And it's really not hard. You just want to be very, very gentle. Didn't mean to do that, but we're back. Okay, you want to be very, very gentle on the controls, and you don't want to omit any. We didn't even really talk about omission, fixation, emphasis. And I guess we'll talk about it now. Sometimes you can overly focus on one particular instrument, emphasizing, just a little bit too much. When it's extremely too much, then I would call that fixation. We're just fixated on one instrument. And we should be bouncing around. We should be comparing information and make sure that the different systems are saying the same things. Pedostatic, gyroscopic, pedostatic, gyroscopic, electrical gyroscopic. These are pneumatic gyroscopic. So we want to make sure that all the information is what we call jiving. They all are saying the same thing. Because if they're not, then that would indicate that something is not going well. Some people omit the turn coordinator during the turns and stuff, so we don't want to omit anything. We just want to keep ourselves, we want to keep our eyes on the swivel, and we want to keep comparing information between the different systems, so we can get all the information from different systems, and it works out better that way. Okay, I'm going to execute a 90-degree standard rate turn to the left. Okay, and I realize we are slightly low, and I'm correcting. So we're all, always just moving around. As long as you're plus or minus 100, you're okay. All right. And it's not, okay, well, if you drift off, I never ever cared about my students like, okay, look, you're 100 feet low. You just have to know and be aware and actively correcting a certain undesired condition. If you're blowing off and you're blowing through 2400 and 23, then as an instructor, I know you are not looking at your altimeter, which is our primary pitch instrument right now. So your instructor knows when you're kind of omitting certain instruments. All right, standard rate turn to the left, 90 degrees. And I'm not even going to trim this out. I'm just going to hold it myself on my own and maintain 2,500 feet. I'm doing this for a reason, because I'm trying to intercept the localizer and then terminate this lesson by doing an instrument approach and landing. So hopefully I plan this all right, and as I go along, I can just demonstrate the primary and supporting instruments. So we roll out 2,500, and I'm just bumping in, just putting in small inputs. You don't want to jerk the yoke. If you jerk on the yoke, you stand a chance of getting upsetting your passengers, and yourself as a pilot. You don't want your middle air to just be going all nutty and stuff like that. So, very, very important. Okay, that 90-degree turn has been completed. When we established the standard rate turn, our primary pitch was the altimeter. We went to our attitude indicator, then our turn coordinator. So we set 15 degrees of bank in our attitude indicator, then we referred to our turn coordinator. We maintained the standard rate turn with our turn coordinator, which is this guy here. When we standard rate turn to the left, we dip this wing until it touches that index. When we standard rate turn to the right, we dip this wing. Okay, and we're passing through our localizer. Very, very good. Alrighty. Okay. Okay. Again, we're establishing a standard rate turn. Primary pitch, altimeter. Primary bank, attitude indicator 15 degrees, then we hold it there. And then our primary power is our airspeed indicator. Okay, so boom, here we go. Now it was a little high on the altimeter to begin with, so that's all right. You know, we can lose. We could stand to use a little altitude. You just got to be cognizant. You got to always know what's going on in your aircraft. We just passed through the localizer. Damn it! That's my little view thing with Jake. And I hate that because then I got to immediately get back to my scan. All right, and I rolled out a little bit later than I wanted to, and that's okay. We don't care about mistakes. If you make a mistake, we want to see active correction. You know, if I pass through 185 or 190 and I just kept turning, again, that tells your instructor that you don't know where you are. All right, and it will take a while for you to develop your situational awareness. Okay, it's not, you know, something that's going to happen overnight. I know that I am currently southwest of the field, judged based on my horizontal situation indicator, and we'll discuss that in a later video. But when you're in these approaches, there is nothing to look at outside. Nothing to look at. Do a flyby. And hopefully I have a tight enough scan going on. See how this thing is going out of the fog and back into the fog. Okay? And don't worry. Your training, your instructor will take you through all of your training. And, you know, I used to take my students in this kind of weather all the time. They'd be so nervous, like, oh my God, it's IFR. Yeah, that's what you're training for. So let's come on, let's get it on over here to the airport and let's get some of this soup. Righty. So basically what we're going to do, we're turning around to the west now, and we are going to intercept the localizer. So straight and level flight standard rate turns are pretty much what I wanted to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about other flight maneuvers, but I try to keep these videos kind of short so you don't have so much to, you know, focus on, you know, in a particular video. And if you need to rewind back, I don't want too many concepts in one video. Okay, level at 2500. And I am going to give us about a 30-degree cut. All right, so I'm going to roll out right here 005 degrees, and basically what I'm looking for is that localizer to join us here. All right, we're going to zoom out just a little bit, and as you can see, there is nothing going on out there, buddy. We are in the soup, and it's okay because we know what we're doing, right, guys? Except for this view thing, I keep hitting that little button. It's all right though. We're good. And what I need to do is hit you, buddy. All right. Okay, 035. So the localizer is coming in. It is touching our aircraft. And we're going to start a descent. All right. Power's coming back. And as we pull the power back, we don't need to do anything. Look at the vertical speed indicator. We pulled the power, and it's okay. Outer marker inbound. Okay, I do not want to be that high. So we're going to come down to 1700, and we're going to execute a standard rate turn. We're going to just do one holding pattern. All right. And so we're going to do it while we're descending, and we're going to act as if the tower has cleared us for this. So once you get your aircraft set up, dude, it's really not. You just have your power settings, and 1700 is what we're looking for. Very good. So as we approach 1700, we're going to have to put some back pressure in there. Now, and if you're a little bit uncomfortable, the last thing you want to do is bust altitudes. So we're at 1800. You could hold, if you really don't feel comfortable right away in your IFR career at, executing the turns and stuff like that. I mean, it is a skill that you're going to have to develop. But hold it at 1800, right? And then when you're in the, in the straight leg, then you can correct. But, you're going to have to be cognizant of, what's going on as far as your ground speed, because it's going to affect your leg. I recommend just go ahead and getting in and doing it. And all right, so we're cleared down to 17. So 17 is our floor. We just don't want to bust or fall through 17 at all. Okay, that is something that an examiner or your instructor will be kind of very peeved about. So pitch, power, trim is something that's always going to be running in your brain. So we're 1700. We're going to come around. We're going to rejoin the localizer. And we should have some glide slope information at this time. As far as your 1 minute legs, there's got to be a clock inside the airplane if it is instrument rated by law or by Code of Federal Regulations. People still call them the Federal Aviation Administration, but they are the Code of Federal Regulations, CFRs. I used to call them FARs, but I mean people still know what you're talking about if you say CFRs or FARs. Okay, let's bring her back around, and we're trying to link up with that localizer. You're going to hear a series of tones. These are what we call marker beacons. The marker beacons let me know where I am in the approach, okay? And she is trying to get away from me, but I got you, old girl. Okay. You feel yourself really fighting with the plane, get that trim in there. The trim, that's what it's there for. It's there to ease the control pressures. So if you can't do it by hand on your own, get that trim in there. But you want to be very, very gentle with your inputs. By the time we roll out, we want to be looking at this localizer. And if not, then we probably need to do a little bit of crabbing towards it. So there may be some wind going on. Again, our floor is 1700. And here comes our localizer. Okay, so as it comes in, I'm comfortable with that, and we can kind of continue our turn because that's what we want to be established on in this instrument approach. All right, we'll roll out. 1700 is our floor. Now it's okay, we're at 1850. That's all right, as long as we don't bust our floor. And what I mean by descend lower than necessary. Okay, we want our eyes up a little bit, and I don't want to be that high. I am correcting. This is SimWorld, man. This is Very, and actually, I find it easier to fly in real life than I do in these simulators, man. These simulators, you really don't have any feel or anything like that. And not that you're flying by feel, but you can kind of hear when you pitch down, you can hear the wind pick up when you descend. Okay, outer marker inbound. I keep bumping that stick, and that's what keeps happening. Darn it. No, I didn't even touch anything there. It's really driving me nuts. And it is taking away from my scan actually. Okay, we should be popping out at 440. I'm using the localized minimums because and 440 we do not have our runway lights, runway and identifier lights. We don't have our threshold markings, anything like that, so we're gonna go missed. Okay, so we did not get to our airport, but we did conduct our primary and support instruments as far as straight level flight and standard rate turns are concerned. So every time I try to do it, I'm trying to set us up on an approach. So that's all I have this lesson. I'll talk to you guys next video. Bye-bye. Climb out.